speeches, if that's correct. Waiting to hear. But
I don't think I can talk over John McDonnell.
Exactly, John. It's not quite as loud as the previous John. Okay, we are going to the speeches because this is a live event, which is why people like live stream. But we're going to the speeches now. Chip, we're going to talk to you later.
Pleasure to see you.
Of course.
In our view, what Julian aimed at, in our view, what Julian Assange is a investigative journalist who, exactly as someone has just shouted, heroically has stood by the highest standards of journalism. What is journalism about? It's reporting the truth. It's about, by reporting the truth, holding power to account. And that's what Julian did. He identified war crimes being committed, solid evidence of war crimes. And he did as every good journalist did, investigated them, researched them, demonstrated the evidence was irrefutable, and he published them. And for that, the state, the US in particular, but other states as well, have sought to repress his ability to operate as a honest and professional journalist. And my God, he's suffered as a result of that. I visited him in Belmarsh prison. And if you've not been in Belmarsh, let me tell you, I've been there a few times to visit constituents. It's a brutal and harsh regime. When I visited Julian last time, there'd already been a suicide on his wing. Self-harm, mental breakdowns, mental health problems. He's endured all that with courage and determination. For that alone, he's won my admiration. But also in this last few weeks, as a result of another brilliant journalist, an Italian journalist called Stefania Morizzi, remember that name. For years, she's been working and researching on this case. And she was putting freedom of information questions to the Crown Prosecution Service. And then first of all, discovered evidence of the Crown Prosecution Service interfering in the Swedish case in order to secure Julian's extradition to Sweden, and then clearly on to America. It was deliberate interference. But then after that, when the first evidence was found, and she approached me because she was having problems getting those responses to the freedom of information questions, I put down on those questions again. And then we discovered, having found the first evidence of interference, then we discovered the Crown Prosecution Service has deleted the emails of the solicitor who was dealing with the case, and then couldn't even give us the rationale for that or the rules by which emails are deleted in these cases. So what we've done now, on a cross-party basis again, myself, Jeremy Corbyn, David Davis, former Conservative Minister, Caroline Lucas from the Green Party, we've submitted a request to the Justice Select Committee in the House of Commons to investigate, launch a short, sharp investigation into the role of the Crown Prosecution Service in this case. Because already, as we've seen, Stefania's evidence demonstrates interference in this case. And I think that interference clearly with the motive of the extradition of Julian to the US. Now let me say this. I believe, like you, if Julian is extradited, I believe his life is at risk. I do not believe he will be safe. And I do not believe, actually, I don't believe any of the assurances that we've been given so far. So I'm hoping today the court will decide the assurances are not good enough. In my view, I think they should then say Julian should be released and go free and join his family again. But let me say this again, just in my role with regard to the National Union of Journalists. This case is globally important. Why? Because it's trying to say to journalists across the globe, report the truth, and this is what will happen to you. So just as those tragedies in Gaza at the moment, 140 journalists being killed by the IDF, the message is going out there and as a result of this case, to all journalists. You report the truth and we'll come for you. So we're not just standing up for Julian Assange today. We're standing up for journalism, but journalism is one of the foundation stones of democracy. So we're standing up for our freedoms, our civil liberties, and our democracy. Solidarity to Julian, solidarity to this campaign, and let's hope we win today. But if the court doesn't make the right decision, we'll be back until we secure his release and our freedoms once again. Solidarity.
So keep your eyes open on that case that John McDonnell and Stefania Meruzzi are pursuing to get an inquiry into the CPS, because the CPS destroying those emails means that we have an organisation in charge of the justice system which is either too incompetent to do its job or too malevolent to do its job properly. So watch out for that.
Right, and we're going to stop that video then and just have it as a clip from this video. But the vanity and the self-importance of these people, you know, on the quest for Julian Assange is absolutely ridiculous. You know, that John McDonnell, the MP, who he's writing to all these select committees and he's on this, you know, the National Journalists Union and so forth. I won't be surprised. At first I'm like, is this guy Barry Shearman? Because he looks a spitting image of Barry Shearman. I'm starting to realise now this National Union of Journalists who have got representatives in Parliament who stand up for journalists in Parliament. Now I'm starting to realise how George Galloway gets all his information. He seems to know everything about everything that's happening. As soon as George Galloway's on there, he knows about it. And this is the thing what I've always thought about Huddersfield. You know, the Huddersfield Examiner and the fact that they seem to know everything that's going on. And there's a bat phone from the council to the newspaper, but when everyone else wants to ring the newspaper now, you can't get in touch with them since all the local reporters got, you know, sacked. You used to be able to ring up these little local reporters and get in a lot of one-on-one contact with the newspapers until they ditched all that. Now it's, you know, don't call us, we'll call you. Yet there's this kind of like intimate bat phone relationship between the council and the newspapers, and it's always falsehoods, misconstrued truths. Yet Barry Shearman is a core central figure in what's got half of Huddersfield built, you know, with the media centre, the university, Sir Patrick Stewart and so forth, all these new projects that the money's been flowing to. And I start to realise now, I think that this guy here, well, the guy who's just been on, this John McDonnell guy, he's got this National Union for Newspapers representing in Parliament, and they've got to influence and sway there. I think that's the connection between the media and the MPs, like the informers. Although obviously, you know, Parliament's got its own means and ends and so forth. It's got its own investigative powers. It's got its own, you know, 77th Brigade units and various other departments and so forth. But there's there's definitely a ring or a circle of people. Although I know, you know, people like Andrew Bridgen and people like that, you know, people, you know, are watching a lot of media now and so forth. But there's a particular ring, and I think that McDonnell guy plays a key role in it, in this media ring. The thing with the Assange story is it's definitely a propaganda setup. There's a lot of conflicts of interest going on with Assange. Firstly, the MPs and the government want to back the newspapers and continue them because the newspapers is a means for investigations and spying and so forth. It's almost like you're meant to go to the newspaper with stories. Investigative journalism, it's like the police, but they're getting paid for being newspaper reporters, not police. but they get money from the newspaper. They go after stories that are going to sell newspapers, and they get all funded from the newspapers, and they can pick and choose stories how they want for their political ends. Almost like 38 Degrees pick and choose what petitions they're going to help from the pot of money. You know, some people struggle with the petitions, you know, they don't do well, but they seem to use the 38 Degrees money to help people who have actually already done well themselves. Oh, these people are doing well, so, you know, we'll help them. Whereas people are really struggling and no one wants to help them, or they can't seem to get any interest, they don't seem to get any help. I really don't like the model of 38 Degrees on the financial side compared to Change.org, although the only thing with Change.org is it's a lot more foreign people, and British petitions are more valid when they've got British signatures. But the model of how it works, if that was just like for English petitions, like 38 Degrees, it would be amazing. But they haven't got it set up like that. They've got this pick and choose process, which I don't know who guided that and who steered that, but there was some sketchy stuff going on with the guy. One of the founders of 38 Degrees got done for drugs by the police, and something happened. I forgot, one of them looks like Mahoney from Police Academy. He did an interview. I don't know which is which. So, yeah, I mean, it's very much like 38 Degrees. You know, the newspapers are all fully funded by the public, buying the newspapers. Well, privately funded by the public, buying the newspapers. And then they're using all these funds to do their own investigations, but things that'll sell newspapers, like Led by Donkeys, unfortunately, and Mombert are all, you know, I thought Led by Donkeys was independent. Turns out they've got a lot of connections with The Guardian, and some of them work for the Mirror. So it's basically just the newspapers. Why don't they go after Murdoch, you know? With all this investigative journalism, you'd think that somebody would have got Murdoch for something by now. They don't seem to do, though. It's almost like a private police force. You buy newspapers and pay for a private police force, but they aren't really helping anyone. They're helping themselves, you know, sell newspapers and get big stories that are going to sell newspapers, and like go after Lord Hanningfield. Oh, we'll pick on Lord Hanningfield. We'll get Lord Hanningfield or whatever, you know. But, you know, are they solving big crime rings, you know? And then the newspapers are complaining that the police, you know, aren't solving crime, or crime's going up. You know, what are the newspapers doing to bring crime down? Solve out what's causing crime? No, they go after these big figures, big fish, like, you know, Hanningfield. So it's almost like it's very politicised. In fact, they're going after political figures, really. And that's the thing with Assange. The whole meaning of Assange, particularly time with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and Assange, and then, you know, what's going on, you know, in the army, you know, behind the covers. It's all so cliched. And the thing with Assange is he films these soldiers who are humans, and it shows like human error, human fault, or human the fallacies of, you know, human nature. It kind of makes you think that, you know, maybe we'd be better being policed by just robots that are programmed to do this, or robots programmed to do that, because it shows a failure of human conscience, an actual failure of humanity in that video. So in a way, it's kind of pro drone strikes, pro speed cameras, pro machines. You know, they just take a measurement and that's all they do. And I think that's what the Doctor Who episode, actually, ironically, was actually released this weekend. That it tackled that with the, you know, those robot. It was like they're fighting a war, but they're just fighting themselves, and they've got these robot medics that are actually not really helping people. They're kind of like when people are only partially injured or so forth, they're kind of striking them off, and then ending up actually just fighting against themselves. That actually shows the machines in error, not the humans, right? It's quite opposite to the Assange footage of that American military, because it's showing the humans at fault, not the machines. So there's definitely some propaganda in that case. I don't think that footage is legit. I think that it's either been voiced over by the American military and then released, or filmed and staged and set up for that Chelsea woman to release it, and possibly even targeted Assange to be the recipient because of his WikiLeaks work, you know, on purpose to set him up. there's another possibility where this Chelsea Manning was an actual proper true whistleblower, like some of those MI5 and MI6, like that woman who keeps appearing in some of the Big Brother Watch stuff, who was an MI5 or MI6 and is a well-known whistleblower. That's the possibility, but I think that it's a setup, particularly with the timing and so forth. But as with Assange's case, going back to Assange's case, the thing with that John McDonnell, maybe I should just move back to him. Here he is, this John McDonnell guy. He looks like Barry. He really reminds me of Barry Sheeman. He's this sort of kind of elk, isn't he? Barry Sheeman's elk. So this guy, he's been complaining about how the CPS have been involved, and they've actually, the reason why I started recording this John McDonnell clip, because I wanted to get the excerpt out of it where he says that the CPS have been deleting loads of evidence and emails and so forth, so as to not incriminate themselves, which, that's amazing evidence, fantastic evidence. I commend John McDonnell for that. That it's a brilliant bit of evidence, because, it shows that the CPS know things that they do and say might, actually be able to be used against them, so they kind of delete it and erasing it. That is the kind of evidence that we need, particularly when it comes to all of these things like illegal road signage, notice of intended prosecutions, the whole legal system being pretty much set up wrong and not really being in line with the principles of Magna Carta and the other statute laws that many of them are still in effect. And just generally, with like Director of Public Prosecutions, Max Hill, but you don't need really... I mean, there's no doubt that there'd be so much incriminating evidence against the CPS that they had on file. There's no doubt about that. But you don't even need to do that. It's quite easy just to listen to the news and know the law and actually listen to cases that, the newspapers don't always report them accurately. If you look at the Hanningfield cases, the facts don't line up in those stories. One of the newspapers or the other is making things up or elaborating on the truth, But generally, I found that besides the illegal road signage evidence, they're making that many obvious and blatant mistakes anyway, if you know the law, that it's just, they're almost like waving a flag, like a red flag or a red card. Like Max Hill, so blatantly obvious. If you just follow a few cases, what's going on with, Extinction Rebellion or Angela Ditchfield, it's they stick out like a sore thumb. Blatantly illegal, blatantly abusive process, blatantly not following procedure rules. You don't even need to go on into the emails they've got or the private records or even freedom of information. There's such blatant criminality that is wide in the open that there's no doubt that the level of criminality within the CPS is likely of such extensive proportions, but clearly there is certain material that they think, they really need to delete it or get rid of it because it would be, even more incriminating. So, yes, there are problems with the CPS, but with Assange, the thing with Assange, right, and actually McDonnell, when he first started the interview, he said a few words and maybe like 2 or 3 sentences about Parliament not wanting to get involved or being a bit stood back and letting the process take on with itself, right, with the courts, let the courts deal with it. So he's in there that Parliament maybe could or should intervene, like with the post office prosecutions, when they put a bill through to get those overturned, what Tice said. But yet, John McDonnell, he is going on and on about all these. I wrote to this MP. We've got this committee here. We've got select committees there. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. You know, me and Corbyn and all these people. We're standing up for all these journalists. And then there's thousands of people turning up outside the Royal Courts of Justice. And then you've got Stella Assange has got a team. And then Shipton and the family, they've all got a team. I'm not knocking Stella Assange at all. There's no doubt they've done amazing and brilliant work, obviously, for Julian and all the campaigning all around the world, and all that goes without saying, obviously, right? But when it comes to people like Shipton, this is more of a critique of Shipton and Corbyn, really. They're in that building of Parliament, and they're all in that building. Galloway's in there now, you know. Andrew Bridgen got, you know, put in a room down the corridor that he wasn't happy with no windows or whatever. They can all take part in debates. They've all got rooms and they can all knock around the building, right? What is the most absolutely just unbelievable part of this? What I've come to realise and found out, I've come full circle. I started with petitions with the Assange, and I've come back round to petitions because there are certain principles in law when it comes to political matters and law, the judiciary and law, because that's what parliamentary privilege is. Parliamentary privilege concerns law and the laws and politics, working for politics or parliament. That is what privilege concerns, right? Now, the word privilege and the use of privilege comes into effect whenever you get an overlap anywhere with anyone in law and political matters. Whether it's citizens doing petitions or remonstrations, whether it's MPs or lords or people who work for government, right? Now, the military, when you used to go into the White House, We the People site, the petition site, they used to have this options, they used to have this drop-down menu. They don't have it on HM Petitions website. You drop this menu down, and then it's what area of government does this petition concern. And then on that drop-down menu on the We the People website, when they had it under Obama, it had, like, you know, transport, infrastructure, you know, it might have environment, you know, it might have, health, you know, health, it might have the military, right? And it might have agriculture, okay? Media, right? Like we've got different departments in England. And you selected the option from the drop-down menu, and then it automatically put your petition into a category. In the Parliament one, you just write your own title, okay? But on the American one, it put it into a category, right? Now, the thing with Julian Assange is he didn't get material about cooking sausages, and he didn't get material about making a porno movie, and he didn't get material about, how to play guitar. It was military matters, which are government departmental matters, right? Now, you could say sausages are government departmental matters because, government controls the health regulations for hygiene, right? So, you could say, you publish something about hot dogs, then, it falls under government because it's health and hygiene, right? But the department of government, right? I mean, that's like saying guns, loads of Americans have guns, they like the gun laws. They've got guns, any citizen's got a gun, but we're talking about government, not citizens who have got guns for their own shooting practices or hunting. Government departmental matters. So drop down menu, right? The military, government, right? So that's politics, because we know it's political matters because it's got a federal government petition site with a drop-down menu for the military. So that's a political subject and matter, right? And obviously this Chelsea Manning or whatever got this information and leaked it to Assange. And then Assange has a opinion and interest in it and thinks that other people will, and then he makes an account, a written or documented media account of the material. The material features in his account with his opinions of it and to ask people about it. So it's government area and material included expressing his own opinion of, right? And the Americans don't like this because it's classified information. Now, the thing is, right, under English law, well, the English Secrets Act is different from the American, right? But so he gets these charges against him from the Americans and wants this extradition process. Now, there's already people petitioning about this matter already on multiple websites, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and so forth, which Parliament of England don't want to publish those. They're saying they won't publish them, or they're claiming you can't do them. Now, this is a couple of corridors down from John McDonnell, Barry Sheeman, right? Andrew Bridgen, pick your MP. And the Petitions Committee chair is Cat Smith, this Labour Party woman from Fleetwood Mac or whatever, right? That's a joke, by the way. I don't know where she's from, but it's somewhere in that Preston Fleetwood sort of area, right? And she's been given the chair of the committee for the petitions, right? Now, the problem is this, right? In law, in the Justices of the Peace Act 1997 and in the Courts Act 2003, this is Justices of the Peace in criminal law or family law or civil law. It says, upon pursuit of a resolution from either Houses of Parliament, right, instruments and orders and so forth are subject to annulment, right? Now, how do you submit anything to Parliament for a resolution? Well, you can lay bills or submit petitions. And courts can either... They've got the Constitutional Reform Act 2005, Section 5, with representations from the justice system to the House of Commons. Now, this is where things... a resolution is basically appeal. Now, you appeal from a magistrate's court to a Crown Court or from a Crown Court to the High Court. So... it's actually, in law, Parliament figures into this still, even though we've got the Constitutional Reform Act, but we've still got the Petitions Committee, and we've still got various other forms of appeal and so forth. Now, the thing is that you can write in paper petition, anyone can write a paper petition into Parliament, in a letter or to the House of Lords. But the thing with no one knows who sent what in, though, because, unless you put it in the newspaper and you publish it in the newspaper or the Gazette, the London Gazette, who don't do petitions. Well, that's funny because when I'm looking at the archives, you do, right? When it goes in the London Gazette, then it's official. You officially did it, or in the newspaper. It's not like someone has sent it into Parliament and no one knows about it and the MPs keep it hush-hush, right? It's official. Now, when it gets published on the House of Commons Petitions Committee website, it is live. It is official on Government of Parliament of England. And you've got a case number. And even if it's rejected, you get a rejection number. And afterwards, it's archived. Like any case through the courts is archived, right? And you collect signatures of support, although they don't always have to act on the signatures because it can act on evidence, but you don't get much option to attach too much evidence, and they like to prune and trim and, reject and so forth for whatever matters. That's a separate matter, how fit petitions are to be received, if they can be read or not, and if it falls under categories of government, which usually it does. Even if you want, to petition Rishi Sunak to jump out of a plane with a Union Jack parachute for publicity, like Boris Johnson used to pull pints or shear sheep as Prime Minister. It's a role, right? You paint the town red, use your imagination. There's some pretty crazy Monster Raving Looney Party policies out there that they're actually running on election on, right? Now, the thing is, for all these petitions and so forth, and all the Magna Carta clauses, right for judgment for peers and not to be delayed, and all these laws that are already clearly being violated by the courts, and the Americans are having loads and loads of attempts at trying to extradite Assange, multiple tries, are dragging it on for ages and ages, right? What it actually turns out, when you actually look at the extradition law, we've got all these experts lined up, legal experts lined up, and Americans. And actually, I have to thank some of them because that the lady who was on, Miranda, was it Miranda? I don't think it was Miranda. Something like that. Miranda something. Not Mabel Miranda. She has just basically given me the exact section of the Extradition Act 2003, which I hadn't got around to looking at. I was going to get around to it, but I didn't think that it wasn't even needed. And it turns out that there's Part A and there's Part B, and it's either or. You don't need both of them. It's A or B. And the wording is an account. On account. Now, the thing is, when you publish a petition and when it gets accepted with a case number, it's definitely on account. It's on account. And particularly if you're petitioning the government, it's your opinion. Your petition is an account on account of your opinion. In my opinion, we should get the tax changed on tampons. So, on my opinion, and it's a political opinion because politics seeks to change and make law, right? Politics seeks to make and change law. So that's my political opinion being on a written account, on a petition, on account of my political opinion for tampon tax, right? Or military. Oh, look, there's Grant Shapps there. Do you think we should, get some more tanks? On my personal opinion, politically, on military, on account, on the registered account of my petition, case number, on account with government submitted, and my political opinion, my personal political belief or opinion of how many tanks extra Grant Shapps should fund, right? That's why he's on TV looking so serious on GB News and Talk TV, even more serious than, a garden gnome digging a tunnel under Stonehenge or whatever, the jester of Moot, So Assange, on account of his newspaper story, his opinions regarding the material that he published of Chelsea Manning concerning departmental government military, right? That extradition is barred if and only if on account of his political views and opinions. Well, his political views and opinions were concerning the material that he had, which was departmental government, right? So he's been extradited because of his opinions and views of the material that he had, which was departmental government, says political opinion. So he has to be barred. But the thing is that even then, if you have a petition on the Parliament website, it's on account officially. The thing with change.org, all these hundreds and hundreds of petitions on account of Assange's views and opinions and material, and 38 Degrees, and Australian government, and our Kennedy Jr.'s private website, personal website, right? All that needs to be filed with government, needs to be submitted, sent in, or laid before a court, or laid before Parliament. But no one knows of a Parliament officially declaring it and put it up on the website that we are in receipt of these accounts of Assange's political views. Oh, it's the Attorney General. Oh, it's the Director of Public Prosecutions. What's the Attorney General walking in to the room with? Like Rand Paul with his big pile of paperwork in his hands, on the accounts of people's accounts of Assange's accounts of his personal opinions and the material of American government politics, of the military departments that are in the Attorney General's hands, would instantly bar an extradition, right? But as the Attorney General got her hands full, piled up with all these petitions from Change.org and so forth, and as she told anyone, I mean, McDonnell's been talking about, CPS deleting documents. The Petitions Committee won't even publish it. And then when you go onto the website to try find if it was rejected or not, there's nothing there. No file found. No file found. So you can't even see the rejected petition with Assange's case number and so forth on there. Right? Because that, not only does it officially recognise where, as much as being put in the London Gazette, that there is a petition about Assange and his political views and, so forth, and it's actually seeking a resolution of it, which also then kicks in that Courts Act 2003, because you're appealing to a higher level over it. Now that is meant to subject an annulment, which would be equivalent of it being bad, right? Now, all John McDonnell needed to do, even if it wasn't this is not about me, it doesn't have to be my petition to Parliament. No one's got one on there. I searched, a couple of months ago when the previous Assange, when they were all outside, when Russell Brand was there outside Royal Courts of Justice, there wasn't any. I submitted it, and they didn't want to publish it, so I complained to Judicial Conduct Investigations Office to find out why the Petitions Committee will not run the petition, right? So don't reject it because I'm complaining about Cat Smith, because she is perverting the course of justice, right? Because that Petitions Committee figures into the justice system. Yet John McDonnell, best, we're going to get Parliament involved yet. Let it run its course through the judiciary. No, John McDonnell. On account, John, on a written account of a personal political views, if we're allowed to submit them, right, you get barred from being extradited. Now, we've got a place that is set up for publishing people's accounts on account of their opinion of political matters, including Julian Assange and his views, right? So that is exactly which is described in the extradition law. So if there's ever a jigsaw puzzle piece that fits, why is Cat Smith so obsessed with not putting the piece in the puzzle? Because it's not about, let the court procedure play itself out. The court procedure requires the recognition of the political account, an opinion. And to be political, to prove it's political, it would be on a government website which deals with politics and not just in a newspaper, a political newspaper or a magazine or this or that. Because when it's on Parliament website with a case number, it's lodged, running, submitted, can be debated on the floor of the chamber. What is the Constitutional Reform Act 2005, Section 5 from the Courts of Justice representations tone with the House of Commons? John McDonnell, Jeremy Corbyn, George Galloway. So what they're doing, wandering round the corridors of Parliament, oh, we've got a journalist committee, we're getting everyone involved, journalist committee, we're standing up for journalists, we've got to this select committee, we've got to that select committee, we've done this, we've done that. He's doing everything in that building. Why is John not going to the door of the petitions committee and knocking on it and asking Cat Smith, can we have a political account in a political parliament in a case Julian Assange, which confirms that his opinions and views have been raised to a political entry? Therefore, confirms the status of the clause in the Act, and he's automatically debarred. In fact, you don't need to book a hearing because the Petitions Committee, seeing that it's case number LON 365892463, someone submitted a case about LON 6537434 for a resolution, Julian Assange. I better inform the Lady Chief Justice through the Constitutional Reform Act, Sections 5, representations between the House of Commons and the judiciary. It's like Forrest Gump, or Dumber and Dumber, or some Fawlty Towers manual. It's all right with John McDonnell. He stood there in front of cameras and people outside the royal courts, very well spoken, very, very serious, CPS deleting emails and so forth. But it's like on, Stardust when they're all trying to shout the answers at him, but they can't hear them, It's like, the man with the key to the door. And it's all like all the arrows and lights flashing at it, like on some kind of game show, press this button, knock on this door. But John is kind of wandering around the halls of Parliament, kind of like in some oblivion. Yet there's all these flashing lights and buzzers and arrows at this door, Cat Smith, MP, he's just some kind of, he's either in some kind of cult or pact, some kind of like, forbidden, like on Dr. No's Island, like the skull and crossbones forbidden sign, right? Or he's brainwashed by the committee or by his party, or by Sunak or who knows. What is preventing John McDonnell from having a case number with an account of the opinions of Julian Assange and the material he published and the views of the people? This is a political account now and document filed with a case number in Parliament, which automatically activates the debarring clause in the Extradition Act, but he can't get cable, it's like how many people does it take to change a light bulb? You know, there's an Irishman, Englishman, and a Scottish man. It's almost kind of like you've got two cables, right, with one in one hand and one in another hand, and it's like you know, Charlie Chaplin or Compo with two boots on when he's got left on one boot and right on the other boot, but they're mixed up. You know, he's put his left boot on his left foot and his right boot on his right foot. Or, you know, Velcro shoelaces or something. You know, you're cable 1 and cable 2, and there's like a triangle shape on one, and there's a triangle hole in the other, and a big sign on it saying, plug cable 1 into cable 2, John. And it flashes, and it's even got a spoken verbal cue, like, you know, some air hostess. Hello, Barry, you know. Hello, John. If you pick up the cable on the floor on your left hand and pick up the other cable on your right hand and pull them together and then push it very tightly and press the clip on the right hand side. You know, it's almost like some kind of, it's like aeroplane, if they put your hands between your knees, you know, and then the air mask will drop down with some air hostess at the front, you know. What is wrong with these people? And what is wrong with them is Cat Smith, is Rishi Sunak. It's some kind of fault cult. I don't think it's intelligence. I don't know if they've been groomed. I don't know why they're not doing it. It's all laid out in legislation, and this is the function. This is the function. If you've got a clause which says that you're not going to be debarred from being extradited if your opinions and views are political, oh, well, that's just the business. We're Parliament of England. We specialise in political matters. In fact, we've got committees to deal with it that John was just telling us about, and one of them deals with particular petitions from the public. You know? Oh, that's interesting. You know? There's something as a sandwich short of a picnic, you know, but all the effort, all the other effort, all of the public speaking, all of the banners, all of the signs, all of the travelling, all of the news, all of the committees, all of the newspaper circles, all of the Barry Shearmans and the Examiner phone calls and the bat phones and the local councils. But why can't John go to the room and knock on the door and say, hey, Kat, would you like to publish this, you know, so we can, you know, make it official? And then, you know, we can, it's got a case number on here as well. Look, case, reference, number. Oh, that's Julian's case. Oh, wow. We might have to, you know, inform them that someone's registered an account with Parliament in a political matter concerning Julian Assange and this case number, you know. But it's been deleted, just like the CPS. Just like the burning down of Parliament. We've got problems throughout government. Serious problems throughout government. Why can't we get the star in the star box? Why can't we get the triangle in the triangle box? Why can't we get the big button push that says push the big button? I don't know what it is with these MPs. It's not that complicated at all. But, you know, the seriousness of these people, all the things that they've been doing, which, you know, is commendable and so forth, but, you know, but even they're saying, oh, this should have been dealt with ages ago, this should have been dealt with ages ago. I just don't know what it is with people like John, Barry and Jeremy. You know, it's like he really is the Englishman, Scottishman and Irishman. It's like there's John, Barry and Jeremy. You know, John, Barry and Jeremy went into Parliament. John, Barry and Jeremy walked down the corridors in Parliament. You know, walked past the Petitions Committee door with Cat Smith. Hello, Cat. Hello, John. Hello, Jeremy. Hello, George. You know, it's Rainbow and Zippy. Oh, you know, would you like to register an account concerning Julian Assange's case number here and put it up on the website and get people to sign it? Oh, it might even actually trigger an action. You know, that'll be a recognisable political matter there for you. And don't come to us, we'll come to you. There might actually be an obligation to have to inform the courts that such account has been registered and published here. Just like when I register with the Magistrates Court and there's a requirement to notify the Crown Court that you've submitted for an appeal. You know, what is wrong? But then, after they make all these speeches, then you've got all these other people coming on going, oh yeah, I've been emailing my MP, you know, getting no reply. But then we've got an MP here going, oh, I've been emailing the CPS, but I've been getting no reply. They've been leading us around the bush. And, you know, ironically, you could probably get, you know, another 10 people who have been writing to John, you know. Oh, we wrote to John. You know, but he's been giving us the runaround. Oh, well, John's been writing to the CPS and they've been giving him the runaround. And then Cat Smith's been giving us all the runaround, you know. We've got problems. And all of the media coverage and the film cameras and the money and the banners and the time, you know, it's feeble.